Nick, what's up, dude? Shit.
What's up, dude?
Oh, good. We're back. Oof. How's it going, guys?
What's
Is there
up,
other
man? How we
people?
doing, brother?
Oh, shit. There we go.
Well, see, it's sunny where Carlo is, so you're outside. I'm assuming Nick
Yeah.
is pretty cold.
Yeah. We got
Yeah.
snow today.
75 degrees. All good.
Oh, fuck you. That's even nicer than it is here.
Yeah. Staring at the beach.
I'm jealous, man. I'm jealous. What do we got? It's in the 50s here, so that, or no, 40, 45. But that's still got the East Coast or the Northeast beat anyway. Everybody must be freezing your asses off.
Another snowstorm today.
You got another one coming, or you had one?
I have one now, man.
Oh, it's going on right now. Oh, jeez,
Nice.
that sucks.
What part of New York are you in, bro?
Just north of this city in Westchester.
You know of a place called the Delhi or Delhi, some shit like that?
D-Line, New York?
Yeah. It's spelled like Delhi, Dehli. I think I'm moving up to New York in like a month. It's like farm country.
Oh, yeah, then that must be up north by like Albany and stuff, like Delhi.
The guy said it's about an hour and a half north of the city.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, you're up almost in the capital region.
All right, cool.
And then the state goes on for like another 6 hours north. They refer to everything outside of the city as upstate New York. Like,
I just listened to a podcast about that. It like as soon as you pass a certain area, you're no longer from New York.
yeah, it's its own state. Hi, Craig.
How we doing, brother?
What's up, man? I'm currently
Thanks,
putting
Jim.
I call this stuff the Italian shit because I have a friend who's a flight attendant that brings it back. It's some sort of like a topical.
Oh, you got it?
Rub. No, this is the end of my tube. I'm almost out. I need more. Yeah, no, I banged up my knee pretty good last weekend at a sparring day. A guy chopped me with an aluminum trainer right in the knee. We were sparring on like kind of slick, hard packed, slick ground, and I slipped. And we were knife fighting, and I mean, the only thing you can do is bicycle kick as hard as you can, and then try and stand up at some point. Otherwise, you're done for. And he timed my first kick and just wailed me right in the knee. And it was good. Well, it was immediately not good. Like, it didn't feel good at all. But I managed to fight a bunch more times, and then we had lunch. And after lunch, I did one fight, and I knew something was wrong, so I wanted another one right away. While like my adrenaline was still up, and I was standing there like this, waiting for the guy to come out. And all of a sudden, I started like getting jelly leg. I was like, oh, that's not good. And then the whole thing just locked out straight. So I've been working on it all week, and it's all right. I mean, I've been wearing a brace and stuff, but today's the best it's been. I can like bend it most of the way and straighten it.
Yeah, look at that mobility.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, Carlo had seen it at a couple of points during the week. It's not my favorite. Knees are a bad design. They're a stupid design. The way that we have them. If the human knees are just dumb. But anyway, both Steve and Chris Sari are going to join us, so I'm going to give them another minute or two. We're going to work on double sticks today. I'm looking for my notepad. It's around here somewhere. So
Oh shit!
all of you guys have some idea of how how to fight with double sticks. You've all got some manner of experience up to this point. So I'm not necessarily trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm just trying to explain how I interpret double sticks and kind of the way that I make it work. Doing this has been really interesting because for the most part, I have a couple of people that are dead newbies, but for the most part, the people that I'm training with are people that I've fought against. So it kind of it means something to me that people that I've fought against want to learn, like want to at least hear what I have to say and like learn a little bit from me. I find that really interesting, and it at least reaffirms that I'm doing something right. Like somewhere along the line, something correct is happening. Just hang on one sec. I got my here it is behind my monitor. Sorry, the Mat Cave is pretty dirty right now. Our washing machine broke last week, and we have our washer and dryer hookups outside, which for people in the Northeast, that doesn't even make sense. You're like, what do you mean your washing machine is outside? Like, how does that even work? But it never really gets colder than 30 here. It rains like twice a year, and it's under a cover, but everything gets so dirty. So I don't want to buy a brand new washer and dryer. So we've bought used ones that are they're fine. What's up, Steve?
What's going on, man? Yo, you good? Just don't buy a used mattress.
Yeah, right. No, mattress you got to buy clean. But anyway, so I have a big pile of dirty laundry in the corner over here because I don't have a washing machine. I've gone to we have a little laundromat in our complex, but we're buying one tomorrow. Anyway, I'm just hoping. Chris just texted me and asked me for the link, so I'm just waiting for him to jump on board. Catch Dog will be on probably at some point, but he's at work right now, so he'll probably do what he did last week and just kind of audit things a little bit. And speak of the fucking devil, there he is. So expecting Chris. Sorry, I did send the link to Sherlyn, but if we wait for her, we're gonna be waiting a long time because she doesn't get up this early. All right, so like I said before, the topic is double sticks. Dual wielding equal weapons like swords or something is something that doesn't really happen in history very much, almost at all. There's a couple of examples in Europe in like the Renaissance era when you had guys who would enter into a duel with two rapiers or something, but it seems like that sort of thing was more of like a test of skill or like a showing off kind of thing than a valid fighting style. I don't think you found people on the battlefield doing that, and there's a few reasons why. All right, there's a few reasons why that doesn't happen. Unless we're talking about Thailand. And then this all goes out the window. So just like anything else in martial arts, that's a gigantic exception to the rule, is that the Thais did fight with two swords. And the Thais carried the damn things on their back, which is something else that, see, there you go. Steve's got his da. Thai swords, because the length of the blade is not necessarily longer than the length of your arm, you actually can carry them and draw them off your back, as opposed to the two-handed greatsword. Guess what? You're not taking out of a sheath on your back anything longer than your arms. Like, it's made up. It's Hollywood. But anyway, the two-sword thing is something that basically only the Thais did in history. In Filipino martial arts, we find it a lot now, but I think it's more of a function of people training with sticks than it is the actual swords. It makes more sense to have a sword and shield. Most people can only strike effectively with one limb at a time. And most people are going to have a limb that's better than the other one. And also when you're in battle, people throw stuff or shoot things, and having a thing to hold up is a pretty big deal. So the weapon system of sword and shield existed, or spear and shield, or club or axe, whatever, that existed all throughout history forever. like you go back as far as you got a guy who goes and throws a rock. You got some other guy who picks up a piece of wood and blocks with it. And you're like, oh, you know what would make this better? A handle. And now I can hold something with my other hand. So part of the way that I consider stick fighting with two sticks is almost shield and sword. However, you have the ability to, you know, attack in the same manner as you can with the other weapon, you know, with your shield here. There's cultures like in Africa where they had like a kind of a stick shield combo thing that they hold in the middle, and they block with the protrusions as well as with the sort of buckler part. That's all kind of stuff that, you know, you can take into account with your double stick fighting. The reality of how I train is Kali and Krabi Krabong. So if anybody has ever worked any of Mark Denny's stuff, there's definitely some of that in what I do. But there's also Krabi, and then there's just my own kind of way of blending them together. And for those of you guys who have seen my single stick stuff, so we're gonna see me gimping around a little bit here. So anybody that's seen my single stick stuff, I'm also using my little sticks because I have a ceiling fan right above me, and I would like part of my deposit back on this place at some point. So when I fight with single stick, I have kind of two structures. I have my more mobile Kali-based structure where my hand is moving in a circle. I don't necessarily say clockwise or counterclockwise in this case because your two hands are different. So I would call them like inward circles. So I do inward circles with my hand like this. This is usually my more mobile structure. And then I fall back into an off-lead structure, which Dog Brothers would call the salty structure. This I kind of need a bigger stick to sort of demonstrate. And, you know, I've seen guys in this off-lead hold their stick everywhere from really low like this, you know, really upright, like a seatbelt, like Lonely Dogs stuff is the seatbelt style. I'm a little bit more in the middle, but this is sort of a personal preference thing. Certain styles of Krabi Krabong would want you to point your tip at the enemy all the time. I like that idea, and that's a thing that you find in European sword fighting as well, menacing with the point, they'd call it. But in a stick fight, yeah, you don't want to run directly onto the tip of someone's stick, but realistically, it's not going to kill you. Whereas if this is a sword, pointing the stick, the tip at the guy at all times makes perfect sense, because if he rushes you, you have the ability to thrust really quickly. But from a stick fighting point of view, I just constantly want to be menacing my enemy because I'm ready to strike. We have to develop and generate power to make our strikes effective, whereas with a sword, it's much more slicing, and the ideas are a little bit different. But with one of the things I kind of like about Krabi Krabong is that there's not, like, they train with those sticks as if they're swords. They're never considering that they'd be stick fighting. So their body mechanics and everything are the exact same, whether they're using a sword or a stick. From the way I was taught. So my Krabi experience comes directly from Green Mountain Dog, and he's been my only Krabi Krabong teacher. So if you've done Krabi and things that I've said don't sound right, you blame Pat, not me. But don't tell him I said that, because he's really big. But anyway, so that's sort of my two structures that I shift between. Oh, sorry, I meant to show how it works with the double sticks as well. So my two structures I shift between would be something like this, and then something like this. If you've done much Sinawali or drills like that, I would call starting position like this something like an open structure or an open position, and this would be something like a closed position. The difference there being basically your whichever stick is your lead stick, which side of 12 o'clock you're on. So if your lead stick is on the same side, if the point of your lead stick is on the same side of your body in any way, I would consider that to be a closed position. If it's out here, it would be an open position. I fought a guy last weekend who actually came at me in like a boxer's stance. And the kid turned out to be kind of a pain sponge. Like he ate a lot of hits. But there was something about his structure, his very compact structure, where he was landing shots on me. They weren't particularly well, his body mechanic wasn't good when he was throwing them, so they didn't really hurt. I didn't really wind up with marks, whereas this poor bastard had stick hickeys. He had like bloody stick hickeys on his sides. And just like everybody the first time, he was holding his arms like, check these out. I was like, oh, yeah. Eventually that loses its luster, dude. But so anyway, so I go between my open stance. I don't usually just do this. Sometimes I do, or sometimes I'll rest sticks on my shoulders. But my open stance tends to be some sort of inward circles with my hands. And you can shift between leads really easily from here. And as you shift leads, you're able to work your angles a little bit more. And this is something that I take into empty hand fighting as well. The ability to shift leads gives you that much more flexibility. And the inward circles that we've got going on are setting your hands up to strike from many different angles. And it's making you a lot harder to read. So this is happening at that psychological range before your sticks can touch. So, you know, in Dog Brothers, we call it snake range, but Mark Denny's theory of the 7 ranges is something that I think is actually pretty universal to fighting in general. There might be one less range if you don't have a weapon. So from out at psychological range with the sort of open stance, then I'll shift into a closed stance, where this stick out front is going to be doing some sort of attacking motion or blocking motion, right? So this is where that sword and shield concept comes in. So if I'm going against somebody who's really aggressive and maybe I don't feel like I can overwhelm them, I'm going to use this front weapon as a shield and a probe, right? So I'm not necessarily attacking the guy with it. I'm kind of just, you know, fending off his strikes. And I've got the rear weapon either to step in and steal some range and strike, or you know, as he gets close enough to come in and hit. The other thing that I'm always kind of looking for is, once I've conditioned him to expect some strikes up here, to start dropping, excuse me, I burped, start dropping for some lower strikes. That didn't feel good. So that sort of closed position, you could do in multiple ways. Like I said, I kind of like my rear hand high because it seems sort of menacing. You're sort of pointed at the guy. And from a Krabi Krabong standpoint, your strike just comes from throw the ball, right? So if you're not familiar at all with Krabi Krabong striking, your load for the strike itself is a roof block. So you bring your hand up and then you throw the ball forward like that. And when you do this in conjunction with the Krabi Krabong footwork, it allows you to control distance in a really efficient way. So if you're not familiar with Krabi footwork, it's pretty linear. It's mostly steps, which Catch Dog last night was calling the long step, which I hadn't really heard it put that way, but that's one way you can think of it, as long steps, and then shuffles. So you can control the distance in one of two ways. And the difference between the long step and the shuffle is how close I can get to you with this back weapon. If you only have one, you know, you're here, you're striking, you're here, right? But then you step in, boom, and you're that much closer to the guy. So that same theory works with double stick, where, you know, you're here and he thinks that, you know, your main weapon can go, you know, that far, and your rear weapon, your dangerous big stick in the back, right, can reach you know, another maybe couple inches if you're really throwing it. So that's your jab cross. You have the ability to steal like an extra yard or a meter for those of us up north of distance on the guy that he might not necessarily perceive that you can do, especially if like my main major tendency in double sticks is to have my dominant hand in front because it's doing a lot more of the work. I do that when I fight empty hand too. My right hand does a lot of the work. So I like to use that one in front. And essentially, I'm having a single stick fight with this extra stick in the back. And this is also something that I've sort of picked up from some Lonely Dog stuff. It's particularly if you're not comfortable with your second stick being, taking over that front position, having this as just sort of a shield in the back, you know, it gives you the ability to sort of let this cover the line that you're going to have to worry about as this one's doing all this work. So if he does manage to angle out or zone on you, you can pop this stick just straight up. It's practically in roof block position. And like I said, you're always ready to throw the big strike from the backside. So that's just kind of a little overview on my personal, my structures, you know. I use the term structure the way that if you were doing karate or something, they'd call it like your stance or something like that. Again, it's a lot of the verbiage and stuff that I've absorbed over the years has been Mark Denny, but just is what it is. So first, you guys that have worked with me a little bit are familiar with the asterisk footwork that I've been doing. So what we're going to do is we're going to build strikes in with the asterisk footwork with double sticks. So from an open position where your sticks are just on your shoulders, they're just going there so that you have a place to put them. It doesn't really matter if you have a way that feels more comfortable to stand, you can do that. So the first step is 45 degrees. So we're going to do the asterisk just real quick as a rundown. It's the female triangle, the lateral steps, and the male triangle. Forward and backward, I cover with the Krabi Krabong stepping, because you don't really ever want to be retreating directly backwards anyway, because somebody's going to be able to run forwards faster than you can go backwards. And I know that I say that, and you can probably find 15 examples of me running backwards in fights, but do as I say, not as I do, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, the asterisk is going to represent your first step almost at all times, one way or another, unless you're literally just walking straight forward. It's either going to be out to here, out to there, off to this side, off to that side, rear or rear. Right. So from our open position, first step being 45-degree angle out to the right, forward with a forehand slash. Right. And then we're going to do the same thing to the left with a forehand slash. And then as we step to the lateral right, it's going to be a horizontal slash. And then to the left is going to be a horizontal slash. And then now as we step back is going to be a rising slash. And then a rising slash back that way. So pretty simple. We'll run through that a little bit. So forehand, forehand, horizontal, horizontal, uppercut, uppercut, forehand, forehand, horizontal, horizontal, uppercut, uppercut,
Face.
forehand. Don't break your house. Get little sticks. Make little sticks. I had to. I mean, I already had these, but at my house, I was bound to wreck something. So far, I've been lucky. I was showing somebody disarms, though, with a sword, and I disarmed myself and rocketed the thing right into the wall. It was a mistake. Mistakes were made. All right. So when you finish this one, now level 2 of the asterisk is going to be, you're going to throw 2 strikes per step. So we're going to step out, we're going to cut forehand, backhand, forehand, backhand, forehand, backhand, backhand, forehand rising, backhand rising, forehand, oh, forehand rising, backhand rising, forehand, backhand. Does anybody have any hangups with this? Anybody have any questions about sort of what I'm doing here? So from that kind of basic warm-up drill, you can make that as complicated as you want. You can mix up the steps, you can mix up the strikes. You have the ability to to manipulate this drill in a lot of ways, which is something I find about a lot of Filipino drills in general, is that like once you get the basic framework, you can tweak it and input any other skills that you have sort of been working on. I will also say I finally started recording these things and putting them on YouTube. Thank you to the suggestion of Mr. Merchant up in the corner. That was smart. A few of you guys have really been helpful, because a lot of this stuff has been kind of grasping at straws along the way, and it's all, well, like I know how to stick fight, but I didn't even know how to start a Zoom meeting a couple weeks ago. Had to have one where someone taught me. Also, maybe Mr. Merchant. So now I'm going to start working into Sinawali, basically. With Sinawali, which for those of you guys who, probably all of you know, Sinawali means weaving, and probably everybody knows Heaven 6. Not everybody knows the fighting applications of Sinawali. Most people, I think, that train Filipino martial arts and do these drills only see them as building the muscle memory for these patterns, instead of seeing them as being actual fighting patterns. Because intellectually, we all know, no, you don't fight like this. Like, we don't fight like this. We don't stand there square to one another or doing just, minimal footwork at beat each other's head in range. It's not usually how it works. So we have to kind of figure out how to get there. But so to sort of warm up for the Sinawali, we're going to just do kind of fluid. I don't know. Everybody's system has this probably. I don't know what you call it. I would just call it fluid striking. And it shifts between a closed and an open position. So from just a standard closed position, forehand, backhand, and then now you're on the other side, backhand, forehand, forehand, backhand, backhand, forehand. 2, 1, 2, right? Everybody's kind of got some idea of how this works. I'm just kind of warming up the shoulders and getting into the Sinawali mindset. And this is, again, just because I say this isn't how we fight doesn't mean this isn't a valid way to attack somebody. You could run up on someone, it's not necessarily that the pattern is a dead pattern. It's that the way that it's trained is not active enough. So once you get 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, and then you want to set it up to the other side without stopping. So once you get to this point, throw that other one out as a jab, and now you're back to slashes. And then you can break that pattern anytime and switch to the other side. So this is, I would consider this an asymmetrical Sinawali drill, because when you finish or when you get halfway, you're not in the same position anymore. You've gone from the, over under closed position to that parallel closed position. So the strikes won't come the same way. But that's where throwing it in there allows you to set it up and make it asymmetrical on the other side, or allows you to transition from this drill into straight up heaven six. See, if we were all together, this would be a lot more fun because we'd smell rattan and the sticks would be hidden together and everything would be awesome. We're not. However, this is really cool because we got guys in New York, we got guys in Canada, we got guys in California, we got a guy from Florida. Like, we wouldn't all be able to train like this together anyway. So I guess this is a second place anyway. So there's other variations of Sinawali other than Heaven 6. I've been working Heaven 6, Heaven and Earth. I think Crafty calls it J pattern. I don't know. I've never heard anybody else call it. Like when you do Heaven 6 Sinawali, you've got slash, slash, and then I would call it a jab, right? You can mess with that pattern however you want. You can do slash, slash, jab, slash, slash, jab kind of thing. But I've also seen it where it's jab, slash, slash, jab, slash, slash. Right? And so that takes it from being from this side, and then now this side, they all come from the same side now. So that minute detail changes the rhythm of the strikes and where they're coming from. So especially if you've shown a guy that you know that a few times, he's going to expect that third strike to come from the other side. So you can get to the point where you've conditioned him to be like, all right, I'm going to have to block, block, block. Well, now 1, 2, 3, he goes block, block, and eats that third one because he pops his hand out to the other side. So just because these patterns are something that you'll stand there all day with your partner until your arms hurt, doesn't mean that they're not valid fighting combinations. And just because there's a million of them, like a lot of the times in Filipino martial arts, I have the bad habit of looking at something and being like, yeah, the only reason you're showing people this is so your students keep coming back so that you don't run out of material. But in reality, it's once you've trained your basic combinations and you've conditioned your opponent to expect those basic combinations, they're going, you break those patterns, and that's how you're really going to score your hits. So anyway, so we all kind of have the idea of having 6 Sinawali. So that's what we'll do as the striking pattern. And now we're going to do it off of the male triangle. So assume you're at, it's going to be a little trigonometry here. So assume you're at one leg, right? Leg, hypotenuse, right? Assume you're at one leg. We're going to travel to the point and back down to the other leg and back. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? As I go up and down the triangle. Right. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. It's a little confusing at first, but so the footwork being and back, up and back, yeah, up and back, and then 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So you can also stagger your attacks. So if it's too much to throw 1, 2, 3 as you go up and 1, 2, 3 as you go back, you can turn the whole triangle into each side. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And as you get quicker with it, you can throw it into 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? As you travel through the triangle, you can throw both sides. Go up on the one leg, come back on the other. Up on the one leg, come back on the other. So just kind of tailor it to like what you feel like your speed is. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're more or less advanced based on which feels better. It's going to be which feels better. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm just trying to watch you guys a little bit. Also, my knee hurts, so I'm sitting down. Yeah. Nice. All right, so now that we worked out a little bit, you can kind of see where you're combining the stick and the footwork can turn these drills from being just, dead patterns into an actual attack pattern. So from that male triangle drill, you can see that you could do it off of the female triangle as well. So instead of going up and back, if you think about your first step being to the outside on the guy, you can launch this right off the bat. So if you're here, you go, wow, wow, wow. This is pretty crafty, dog. So his sort of, his basic Sinawali theory, or his basic double stick theory is based also off of sort of where your opponent's stick is pointing. If your opponent's front stick is pointing this way, you have one set of options. If it's pointing that way, you have another set of options. I really like that because I like the idea of having, the fewest number of set options to deal with the biggest number of possible scenarios. So he bases it off of whether the stick is pointing here or here. I don't necessarily do that so much. So in Crafty World, if the stick is pointing this way, you're going to run to the inside. And you have two issues to deal with your opponent. You have his front stick and his rear stick. The front stick is probably doing sort of the stuff that I do. The rear stick is ready for this. So his theory would be just quick and dirty. And I'm totally, I think you should probably go to his class after this one and make sure that make sure that you're learning from the master instead of from me. But basically, if the guy's stick is pointing in this way, the easiest way to deal with it is going to be to hit it down and hit it down at the tip. When you hit someone's stick, hitting them close to the hand, unless you hit the hand, hitting them close to the hand is going to be the least effective. You're not going to move it that much. But because of the leverage, if you hit the tip of the stick, like just take your stick and hit the tip of it and see how far it whips down in comparison to hitting it by your hand. It's just leverage. It'll come down that way. So you aim at the tip of your opponent's stick and you knock that thing out of the way. And then this is an important part. So say your opponent is standing like I'm standing with my left side forward. You want to stand with your right side forward. So instead of matching him where you're both like boxers in the same lead, you watch which of his feet goes first, and you put your opposite foot out there. So now you're in a mirror, right? You're mirror to him instead of being matched with him. And you're going to run in the direction that his stick is pointing. So his stick is pointing this way. So you're going to cut to the inside, which is going to force you to have to deal with his power. So if you're gonna run Sinawali at him, your first strike is gonna hit his stick. And as you're coming forward, your next strike is gonna cover your head. Footwork wise, this isn't like Krabi Krabong. Theoretically, it is like Krabi Krabong because you're covering your step with a block. But instead of being block strike, it's block strike. So to run Heaven 6, we're hitting our opponent's stick down, coming in with our next strike. So this is where it's not like slash jab, it's like slash roof block jab. So knock your opponent's blade away, right? Step in and block, backhand to the face. You can actually do this empty hand as well. From out here, chop his front hand, cover on the way in, and then backhand. Or there's other ways to do it, but it works empty hand and arm. So we're out here, right? We're gonna wah.
And I think he calls this one Tricky 21.
Shh, we don't say that. Put your mute back on. Yeah, so this one Tricky 21? The only one,
Yeah. The other one I think is the Los Triques, where it's the Redondo is supposed to be the jab, but it's all the same concept.
Yeah. So exactly. So that's how you basically Crafty would call it Tricky 21, but this is how you make that work. Is 1, 2, 3 as you run to the inside on the guy. Now, if you want to make Heaven and Earth work, this is where I throw Crafty's shit out the window because he would have you running at your opponent based upon where this stick is pointing. I don't really care about that. The roof block is what becomes important when you run to the inside because you don't want to get clobbered with the other stick. But if you choose to go to the other side, you just got to worry about this one. So from here, what I would do to run Heaven and Earth, I would do the same thing where I come in and I attack his front stick and then blast him in the leg and then hit him on the way out. So now we're going to hit his stick, blast his leg, and then backhand on the way out. And instead of it being necessarily a diagonal backhand, you might throw a horizontal, a dodger, because you have a little bit more power this way. I mean, this is better with a sword if you were, actually slicing at someone. But we're Americans or Canadians, I guess. We swing the baseball bat and we throw the ball. So those are powerful motions that sort of culturally are already built into us. So I like the horizontal backhand. So again, we did the Heaven 6, we were in the inside. Now we're doing Heaven and Earth. So we're going here, there. But you still got to hit that first hand and you got to go outside on the guy. If you try this to the inside, he hits you with that big stick. So you want to, the first pattern, we were running to one side of that female triangle. Now we're running it to the other side of the female triangle. And I'm super gimpy on that side. So I'm really doing it kind of goofy. But if I was going to the other side, yeah. So attack the front hand. If you can, hit him in the hand. I mean, that's you. I know I said this part is not as effective to hit. Obviously, hitting the tip is going to knock him that way. But in this case, if you can get his hand, always hit his hand. There's no reason to not hit a guy in the hand, pretty much ever. Like I always recommend blasting him in the hand if you can. It reduces someone's combat effectiveness like by exponential margins to really blast them in the hand. And I will tell you, even with gloves on, if you've seen my knuckles, that's what happens if you really get hit.
That shit hurts with gloves on.
Well, yeah, that was through gloves. That was an extenuating circumstance. My first couple of gatherings, I incurred a couple of injuries that most people wouldn't have come back, especially in a thing that they didn't really know that much about. So
So
now,
you say forward hand, what?
so it's the same, it's heaven and earth. We're just doing Sinawali, right?
Right.
So as you come in, your first attack hits his hand. Your second one hits him in the leg. And then this backhand goes to the head. So head, leg, head. Oh, I'm sorry, hand. My bad. Hand,
Hand,
head. Yep,
leg,
yep.
head.
Yeah. So think about it like this, right? Here's our footwork pattern we're working with. The opponent is here. So you're going to be heading out on that line. So this is just the first, remember I've said, like, this is just the first step. You're not necessarily doing back and forth on the V. You can.
Yeah.
So this is, you can turn this, what we're doing right now, into a drill like that, where, you know, you're going, you know,
Mhm.
but I'm trying to get you guys to visualize it from an actual full contact stick fighting perspective. So as we step out, attack the hand, attack the leg, and then blast the head. So here, instead of full on running by the guy, you're turning into it and really letting him have it. So you're striking the hand, you're striking the leg. Striking the leg is going to take at least something out of the guy, and it's going to make his reaction a little slower. Because you're not dealing with his power stick, you're going to the outside on him. And you want to make the most of that leg shot, because that's what's going to save you from his quick reaction. Is he's going to be going, son of a bitch, and then you're going to blast him with the backhand. So hit his hand, hit his leg, and then as you get to this part, turn and throw a power shot.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't really bear down.
Like when you're at his like flank, right? Like his blind side.
Yeah. So now you've gotten almost behind him. This is something I like to say but I didn't make it up. But it's always easier to fight a guy from behind him. Like, that's why.
Does it matter which side you're going to? I know you said something about that earlier.
Yeah, it does. Right. So we're choosing which direction to run this based on the other guy's stick, right?
Right.
And what you got to know is if you're running to the inside on him, you're gonna have to have some sort of a roof block to cover this. So that's when we're running the standard Sinawali. If you're running to the outside, you can take that leg shot, because now you don't have to worry about the other stick as much. So
So for this one, you're saying do it like match leads, and you're running to the outside.
doesn't have to be match leads at this point. You could do, realistically, you could do any of these from match lead. I was just explaining how Crafty does it, where he purposely sets the mirror as being a thing. We don't have to do it that way. You because you're running. It's just thinking about which direction is the important direction.
You're saying to do this one flanking to the outside.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
If you're going to throw that leg shot, you want to do it flanking to the outside, because then you don't expose yourself to his power.
Running into the shot. Yeah, I was thinking about that. I'm like, I don't know if I would do this. All right. So yeah, that makes sense.
You have to do it to the outside.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like,
Let me ask you a question, Matt.
yeah.
The other day when we were talking about this, you said Heaven 6 was good. Like there's one that's better for closed and one that's better for open. Could you tell me which one that was again? That kind of helped.
So that's basically what's going on here. You would have that same option for open. So if the guy's standing like this in double caveman style, you run this heaven and earth, because you're running to the outside. Yeah, we were doing it from, if the guy was coming at you like this, right, running to this side, but we were doing it where your first strike was coming out towards his face. So now, before, where your opponent was like this, we were attacking his hand. What Carlos saying was the other day, he and I were doing it from here. So here, you can kind of attack the hand, but your first strike is actually more like a flying roof block now, because he is in a much more powerful striking position. So I can hit you pretty hard from here. I can hit you way harder from here, right? So now it would be good to blast him in the hand, but like if you miss, you could still wind up eating this shot, and you're throwing that low line shot. So you have to think about covering your noodle as you come through. So in this case, my first strike would be like up towards his hands or some sort of a flying roof block. And then comes that second one. Right? So if you attack, you can attack the hand, or you can come with a roof block. If you attack the hand, you also could think of it as you're trying to provoke a strike and then you merge his line. So instead of, because you're going to be at the same hand, oh fuck, no, I'm sorry. Erase all that. This is where we're coming from what Steve was talking about. We're going to be in the matched lead. So if he's standing like this, now you put your right side forward and you're coming at him. So that first strike is going to be coming out, and it's either going to be a strike to the hand or kind of an umbrella block to shear away. So you can't see from here, to shear away his strike. But if you can get his hand or kind of umbrella block, and then out comes this, and then the backhand comes across again. Sorry, I need a webcam that like shows a little bit better. But so now he's in his double caveman, and he's got his left leg in front, or his right leg in front rather. I'm coming from out here, and I'm either attacking his hand or throwing my umbrella block if I provoke him, and then hitting the leg and then backhand. So umbrella block turns into backhand pretty readily. Like that's a pretty smooth combination. So here, well, fuck, missed it. Here, lower, boom, right? Here, strike, strike. So coming out, strike. Coming out, strike. And as you come out, hit his leg, and then strike.
What tea do you want? Green tea? A little bit of honey? Okay.
The other side, right? Umbrella block, strike, backhand. Or strike, strike, backhand. Right? Strike, strike, backhand. Yeah. So that to the yeah, there you go. I was just gonna say to the Canadians up in the corner. Yeah, I like that. And how's everybody else doing there? Cool. So from there, you have multiple options, kind of based on your opponent's structure, and there's going to be one version of either out like this or like this. Whatever his particular expression of that is, they're either going to be on opposite sides or the same side. And through reading your opponent's stance and the structure, you can begin to make your choices as to how you're going to attack that structure. Some guys are more fluid. If you run into a guy who's doing all kinds of DBMA stuff and things like that, that's when I like to settle into more of a Krabi Krabong structure. So if the other guy's kind of timid or sort of letting me come to him, I'll run these patterns at him and use a very fluid and evasive structure. But if the other guy sets into that right away, I like to go kind of opposite him if I can and set into more of a, not defensive, but like more of a solid and stalking kind of structure. Because that way I'm ready for any weird shit he does, and my combinations are going to come with power. you want, when you go against a really mobile guy, you want to hurt him and you want to start taking some of that juice out of him as quickly as possible by making it painful. And also giving him as little as you want to take away from his ability to have success by shutting down a lot of those options and not biting on stuff. So that's another thing, is like they kind of want you to, when a guy is moving out there and doing all this kind of stuff, they want you to bite. You know what I mean? Like they want you to commit to a course of action so that they can, their fluidity can overtake you once once your sort of more rigid style has chosen a direction. That, that's sort of my interpretation of it anyway. So from the sort of more rigid structure, I just like almost standard Krabi Krabong most of the time. So just for those of you, I know Chris just became like a white sash or something in Krabi Krabong, so he probably knows this kind of stuff. But your most basic Krabi Krabong walk the line drill, I don't have a ton of room, so I'm gonna have to sort of truncate this a little bit. Would be there's one guy on offense, one guy on defense, and generally you come from a structure like this. As you cover the distance, you cover your head. That's like kind of rule number one. So as I step in forward, my rear stick comes up, and then I cut, and then I cut. Right? A Krabi Krabong style strike, instead of being through like that, it strikes with power and then draws back. And that comes from the fact that they're striking with a sword. Even though they're doing sticks for training purposes, they're considering it like a sword. And if you think about taking a sword and swinging it as hard as you can into somebody's shoulder, that shit's gonna get stuck somewhere in here, probably, right in the bone. And if you're on a battlefield, now you got your sword stuck in somebody's chest, that you're in an unenviable position because you're anchored to this guy or you lose your sword. And while you're trying to pull your sword out of this dude's chest, his buddy is coming along with a spear, really mad at you to finish you off. So for the most part, the Thai style it's not the same mechanic, but it reminds me of samurai style fighting where they kind of pull back at the end. And they do that because they want to strike but not get their weapons stuck. So the Thai style of cutting is very similar, where you step in, you make contact, and you throw with power till about there, and then withdraw. And again, like I was saying, they continue to point the point of their blade at the enemy at all times. Part of that is because if you see two guys doing these Krabi Krabong line drills, you realize how powerful the distance control is. And if one guy chooses to break that and run onto the other guy, he's going to run straight into a pair of spikes. It's going to be like tusks. He's not going to have success in just taking a guy down. Within the context of a Dog Brothers fight, we see that sometimes where a guy will lose a stick, or the fight won't be going so good, or whatever, and they'll just rush on and take somebody down. I have to assume, even though I've never been in a medieval battlefield situation, I have to assume that's what happens sometimes, where a guy will either lose a weapon or, be getting outclassed, and he'll just grab you. So it makes a lot of sense, especially if nobody's wearing any armor, or the armor is fairly light, to keep your weapons pointed directly at your opponent at all times. So from that Thai structure, like I said, I kind of cock my backhand up. It's partially because I'm keeping that roof block situation, but partially because it's cheating. I'm halfway to doing my strike. So from the front, I've got a very powerful shield, and then a nimble tool for striking or probing or whatever. And then my rear hand is ready for the big shots. And then because we work the bilateralism and we work both sides, now I've got this hand in front, and this one's ready for the big shots or the blocking, right? You can also sort of combine the two. where your front hand might be moving and your rear hand might be doing this. So this would be like, I would consider this to be the next level, because this is what, you know, Mark Denny would call Sinawali caveman. I'm ready to throw a big, you know, uneducated strike from the back, and I got this one out front to do the nimble stuff. And then this, you know, like I said, is a little more fluid, but it's not as powerful of a structure for yourself, right? Because when you're out here and you're kind of doing all this sort of stuff, you have the ability to be run over by another guy. The other guy can just bowl right through you. So from this structure, especially if you've sort of got both of your weapons pointed at them, it feels a lot less inviting for someone to come in and try and just close. Some guys will anyway, but that's where the kicking can come in, or knees, or puños. You have other weapons other than just your straight strikes. I did kicking last week, which was fortunate because now my knee's all jacked up. But if you've got knee kicking, this is sort of the structure to insert it from. Because it's the Thai style. That's sort of part of their deal. The Thais break several of the sort of rules of weapon fighting. They do dual wielding, they carry their shit on their back, and they kick in weapons fights, which, you know, there are, I know I've shown a few people this manual a few times, but I have a historical manual here, and people are like, they didn't kick in European sword fighting. No, they didn't, because they did. This is from the 15th century. For sure they did. Also, if you look, he's also doing a roof block kick. So that guy's literally going like this. Roof block, front kick. He's got a second hand because it's a long sword, but if you drop that second hand, he's doing this. So as our good friend Thomas Holtman says, there's nothing new under the sun. Human beings fight in certain ways effectively because of our body mechanics and our anatomy, right? Those are the two things that are basically universal across the board. Is human beings, regardless of whether you're a 15th century knight or a Filipino villager, you know, an African warrior, it doesn't matter what you are, you're going to have certain body mechanics that are able to generate power and in an effective way, and your opponent is going to have anatomy that makes him vulnerable in certain places. So yeah, stylistically you'll find differences, but from place to place and person to person, but there's no one's inventing anything they haven't thought of yet. Which is why I'm very skeptical anytime someone does show up with something that's like, I invented this is new. Well, why did no one figure that out before now? Kind of like the karambit. Like, oh yeah, one culture in all the world uses this little thing to cut rice, but all of a sudden people think it's the best knife in the world. There's a reason.
You're attacking me personally.
Huh?
Attacking me personally.
Yeah, what? This isn't meant to be a personal attack on anyone, but if you feel that way, maybe you need to evaluate things. So anyway, those are my two basic structures. I want to go through one more kind of attack pattern, and this one also, this has got Mark Denny fingerprints on it, so I don't take full credit for this, but I do take at least partial credit for the name. We call this the Gay Cowboy Sinawali, and I'm gonna show you why in a second, but Green Mountain Dog is pretty traditional in like the way that he likes to name things, and as is Candidate Buffalo Dog Jeff. Those guys are both Guros in PTK, and they're, you know, my two main training partners from Boston. And then we have this other guy, Mike Lanier, who is a student of all three of ours from various points. Like I've taught Mike, Pat's taught Mike, Jeff's taught Mike, and Mike and I are tickled by not using traditional names for things and sort of rubbing it in those other two guys' faces that we have our own like words for stuff. So like Espati Daga, we call Spotty Dog. Anytime you do a reverse two, it's a lightsaber and you have to go when you do it. So this pattern we call Gay Cowboy, because your first strike is this. And so when I showed it to Mike, he goes, I feel like a gay cowboy. And he did one of these, and I was like, now we have a name for that. So if you ever hear me yelling gay cowboy at you, this is what I want you to do. So it's another one out of, you can sort of do it out of either structure. You could do it out of the double circle structure, or you can do it out of the Krabi structure. You just have to decide, you know, when your moment is from your own movement around. So this would be another time where you're attacking the front stick and dealing with the back stick to get a strike. So that first version of Sinawali attack we did was straight heaven 6, where you're hitting from this side, and from that side, right? Now we're gonna do all 3 strikes coming from the same area. So you look at your opponent, you're like, all right, I'm gonna hit his front stick with this hand, rear, and go from there. So as you come in, you strike down his front stick, and then your hand comes around your head. So just kind of like practice this motion a few times, where you're coming out, the power of the stroke is when you hit his stick, and then you're coming back to a load. Like that, right? So now you're able to do it like that. So your front hand is never, it's not really breaking it. I'm sorry, your top hand. Your top hand isn't really breaking this into 2 motions. It's really 1 motion. It's hitting around and coming back through. Like that. And as this first one comes out, think of like from the tip of this stick to the tip of this stick is like there's a piece of rope or something that's pulling this one along with it. So as you make your first contact, this is coming out to block, and then your strike is coming through.
Does this one have a sound effect like a whoop-ah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You throw your own, yes, exactly. Yeah, you have to sing Gangnam Style as you do it.
Yeah.
Hey.
So, right, you're attacking the stick, you're blocking the stick, and you're attacking the head. Bah, 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 like that. And then run it to your other side. That's my ouch, it hurts side. So your first strike is the whole strike. It's taking it all the way to there. So if I was running it from this structure, I would come out to here and then if I was doing it from this structure, instead of it being my lower hand going first, it's my upper hand. Right? So you can think, you can see really clearly where this comes from doing this, right? I'm not so rigid in here, and I'm not so open, because this is very open. If you have somebody standing like this, they're leaving a lot of targets visible. If you're standing like this, there's not as much visible. This stick is ready to block however I have to, and I'm able to quickly move to where I have both weapons available to use. So it's a big part of like when you do that, the heaven and earth combination, you really want to whale that guy in his fucking leg, man. Like you're trying to take the leg. That's you know, the strike to the head is good, like that's important, but really you're putting money in the bank by slamming guys in the legs. We saw it happen to Conor McGregor a couple of weeks ago, where you know, he ate those kicks in his shin. I think like 18 of them or something like that, and eventually his peroneal nerve was just like, yeah, we're not doing this anymore. With a stick, they can come a lot faster. Obviously, we're not fighting 15-minute, you know, 3-round fights. So putting that money in the bank, you might be helping somebody else later in the day. But a couple of really strong stick strikes in the knee area, just south of the knee particularly, is where your peroneal nerve is. and then above the knee, there's a nerve on the inside, I think. If you really chop somebody in that once or twice, that can severely reduce their combat effectiveness, even like immediately. There's, I posted a video last week of me chopping Mike Rayleigh in the leg and him going just down. He was fine. He was fine. We continued the fight. I didn't like blow out his knee or anything, but he had a good few seconds where that leg was not working anymore. And that's, you know, in a real fight, we were just sparring and it was funny. And I knew he had left it open pretty wide and I knew what I was looking for. So I didn't follow up on it. But if you're in a real fight and you slam somebody in the leg like that and they go down, you have the ability to finish them off. Again, that's exactly what happened to Conor McGregor. Is, you know, Poirier was putting it on him with the hands, but he was really waiting until that leg gave out, and it didn't take very long. He wasn't doing anything about getting hit in the leg. So eventually, you know, those add up. The toll of having your, it's, you know, your legs are your wheels, and if you lose your wheels, you're not going anywhere. And as I've said before, if your footwork sucks, you suck. So you kind of, you want to protect your legs and do everything you can to take away the effectiveness of your opponent's legs. Anyway, so that's about what I got for today. Does anyone have questions?
Would you break away after that? After you hit him in the hand, boom. You crack him in the leg, right?
Yeah.
Caveman, boom. And then would you just break away? Would you just break away from that and just like reset?
It would depend. Yeah, it would depend
Or would you like just go
on the
straight up, just attack. Since you're on the guy's flank.
Again, it depends. So if you've hit him a couple of times in the leg and you can tell he's starting to limp a little bit, yeah, attack. So typically, I like to come in waves. I come in and go out and come in and go out and come in and go out like the tide, right? But you have to know when you've done your work and it's time to take control, right? So the way that I fight, coming in and out and in and out, a lot of the times what'll happen is, especially with newer opponents, I seem to frustrate them and they'll close to grapple. And that's a big fucking mistake because I want you to do that. And I'm going to take you down on the ground. I'm going to stab you in your face because welcome to Dog Brothers. Or I like to mount and ground and pound. Like if I have to submit somebody, I'm failing at that point. I have two things I want to do if you close on me. But I feel that if I make the other guy want to close, I've won the stick fight. Obviously, you know, you knock a stick away or something like that. It's different, but for the most part, if you can force the other guy to want to close, you've won. And then, you know, whatever your skill set is from there is what your skill set is from there. But if again, this is another Mark Dennyism, if you have advantage, take advantage. So when you start to see that what you're doing has worn on your opponent and worn him down, now it's time to really start pressuring even more. That's, you know, fighting 101 is going to be when you have diminished your opponent some, you know, continue taking advantage of that moment. Don't just, I mean, you
let him
could
recover, you know what I'm saying? Like let him get his shit together.
Yeah, don't let him get his shit together. Exactly. Precisely. Anyone else have any questions? Anything else? Yeah, Steve.
Not to be a dick, but can I just add something, like a little
You're
detail?
from New York, so it's part of your DNA. Just go ahead and do it.
Yeah, that's dickish, dude.
No. So you were doing it right, but just to like point it out for clarity to people, because it like hurts when you get hit in the hand. And my hand doesn't look as fucked up as yours, but I think it has like the same level of functionality.
Yeah.
And if you happen to get attacked by like a bush, so, you know, assuming I'm the bush for a second and this stick is like a caveman coming from this way.
Yes.
Right. So like if I'm fighting single stick against a caveman,
Yeah.
we're going to do like an umbrella block this way. You know, I'm going to probably eat a hand shot, right? So if I'm going to come into it, you know, I probably want to do like a sweeping block. or I'm gonna go away from it and do a roof block, right? My hand's in a better position. So when you were showing like the Dos Triques, again, this is the guy's, caveman stick in the back coming, right? So, and you were doing it right, but I've seen people do it wrong, and I've done it wrong, and it hurts. If I
Yeah, you can absolutely punch your hand into it.
and either do like a Krabi, or if I do a faux pas, gay cowboy, like you said, you want to come in with the outside sweep here, as opposed to
So that's if you're doing.
block. That sucks.
So that's why you're coming with the other hand. So you're either aiming. So what you're saying, where it could be an outside sweep block as opposed to the umbrella, is
This
totally
one,
valid.
You're
But-
fighting this guy, right? I'm the tree right now. Like you're fighting the Sinwali caveman, right? So I'm mirroring his lead. So I'm
Yes.
smacking his first stick out of the way.
No, this is his first stick. This one we're running to the outside.
No. This is when you go to the inside.
Right,
The
but that's
very first one.
not when I was doing this. When I was throwing this block, we're going to the outside. We're going.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just showing like single stick. No. What you're saying is right. No, yeah. When you were doing the umbrella, that was something different. I was just prefacing it with, if I'm fighting single stick, right? No. What
Right.
you were saying, yeah, you were going to the outside. That's the next
Okay.
one. Yeah, that you did right too, in my opinion, But just going back to the first technique, just to point it out.
Yeah.
So again, yeah, if you're fighting this guy, the Sinwali caveman,
Right.
and you're mirrored lead, right? So this
Yeah.
is the first technique, right? Tricky 21 or whatever. It's a variation of Heaven 6, and you're running to the inside,
Correct.
right? Heaven 6, or if you're holding it here. So you're smacking his lead stick out of the way, and basically you're doing an attacking block to his rear stick. So
Yes.
it's important that you come with an outside sweep here. You were doing it like that. You showed it like that when you did it.
Now I'm confused.
I've done it wrong myself. We'll do this and come up with a roof block.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, well, that's a weird terminology thing, because I call all this roof block, but you're right. Yeah, you don't want to punch your hand out like that. You want to bring it out like this. That's a good point. I use that term roof block to mean like anytime my stick is here.
Yeah.
This is all roof block to me. So yeah, if your terminology is sweep, yeah, you don't want to do this one, because you're gonna do what I did. You're gonna put your hand in the path of your opponent's stick. You don't want to do that. You want your stick in the path of the opponent's stick, and your hand offline. Because if you do it the other way, you get
one of those.
you get one of these, and it hurts
And
every
the
time
other
it
thing is-
rains.
I think it was like my second gathering back, I think. Yeah, maybe the second gathering back. Like it was in Gorker's gym. You taught me this lesson well. Even though I was, against your Krabi structure, even though I did the outside sweep, I did it way too high. Like I was holding a buckler, and I'm like, ow, my hand's not a fucking buckler. So like,
Yeah.
catch it here. So thank you for that lesson.
No, you're very welcome. You're very welcome.
I remembered it very well.
Yeah.
I don't think I can like bend my middle finger like fully for like 6 months or 8 months.
Yeah, sometimes those
It's
injuries.
good now though. Look at it. See, it's nice and straight, it bends. That was a good lesson.
But I'm glad it's stuck. Yeah, so that's a really good point that Steve has, is that you really need to consider where your opponent's strike is coming from, and also how he's throwing it. If you just put your hand out there, they're gonna slam you in the hand. So the timing of this is really important. The other sort of option you have, especially if the other guy's kind of timid and you don't think he's really gonna throw it, you could throw this one at his face. This could come out and actually, you could essentially throw the tip of your stick right at the guy's face to make him flinch back. If you've got a guy that's gonna throw a big power shot, that outside sweep roof block thing that Steve's talking about, it makes sense. So just kind of your first hand strikes, and then this one comes out. When I say roof block, like I said, I kind of mean anything like this, and then anything like this, I kind of call umbrella. But yeah, you really want it to be more of a sweeping block, and you want to keep your hand out of the line of your head. Absolutely, completely correct. Thank you.
Thank you for the lesson. And today's lesson as well. And listen, you know what you're missing, Matt, from the East Coast?
Yeah, I'm not missing it. Don't miss it. I'm not missing it at all. I have now not seen snow for 2 years, and it blows my mind.
Yeah.
But it's making me kind of a little bitch, man. It rained for like a week here, and I was like sad. It was like, oh, it's raining. Dude, it didn't rain. It was 110 all summer. It didn't rain for 9 months. And then all of a sudden it rained for a minute, and I was like, it's raining. No. Be happy about the sun. It's beautiful right now. I'm gonna go sit out on my porch and read when I'm done. But anyway, has anybody else got any questions, any comments, anything?
I have an unrelated question, kind of. If one were fighting with 2 knives, what grip would you be using for each knife, each hand? Let's say you're in a
2 knives, I like double ice pick.
both blade facing in.
No, facing out. Reverse grip edge in. If you're the term that Crafty used when he and I talked about it, he says you're committing to entanglement. When you're reverse grip edge in, you're committing to entanglement. If I'm fighting with double knives, I assume the other guy has double knives. So I want to be able to hit him and get out, and I want to keep my slashing ability, right? I want to be able to slash out here and strike. I don't want to be pulling this guy into me. Like, this is almost like a praying mantis.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, from the standpoint of Libre and Piper, Scott Babb's the first person to tell you it's not a dueling art. And I don't know whether he articulates this to people or not, but I think that a lot of the reverse grip edge in stuff is because it's not a dueling art, is you're mauling that person. It's you're breaking down past their hands, past their arms to get to the vital structures. And I don't think that translates too well if the other guy is a blade. There's aspects of Libre that I've used, 5-packs and stuff like that like come out. But I do prefer the edge to be out.
Okay.
And part of that, like I said, is that I don't want to commit to entanglement. And part of it is that you can't, if your edges are in, you can't slash.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You can't slash that way. You have a powerful stab and rip, but this isn't a great idea if your opponent also has 2 weapons, especially if they have them long. That's up to a point, right? So if I've got like a knife like this, yeah, ice pick, because I can powerfully thrust. And when you only have a few inches, you want your thrust to be as percussive and as deep as possible, because you're trying to get to something important. Once I'm up to like a K-bar, now I'm using it out here. This is a heavier blade. Slashes are gonna do more damage at range than they will with that little knife. Like, you know, obviously you don't want to get cut with this, but this is,
You don't want to get cut with that.
No, you really don't want to get cut with this. So this will make little pokey holes, or you can really hammer it in. You know, you cap the butt with your thumb. But something like a K-bar, you can use it like this. But I mean, you know, not to be awful about it, but it's more, you'd be more finishing a guy like that. For fighting purposes, you've even got a little bit of a guard to protect your hand. For fighting purposes, I would be slashing out here with the K-bar, as opposed
All right, cool.
to this. But it's all preference. I mean, you can definitely get stuff going out at range with something like that, but you also lose a bit of your range. This is as far as I can reach, like that, versus something out at range like
I think it works good, like psychologically. If you see somebody holding him like this from far away and doing all this shit, you're not gonna want to fucking go anywhere near him.
Right.
gonna
Because,
scare
well, because you don't want to get entangled with him. You know what I mean? If you see a guy doing that, you're like, oh crap, I might get pulled in.
Mhm.
You want to keep it out at range as much as possible.
Yeah, word.
I did a 2-hour private lesson with Crafty right before he moved, and he covered his chupacabra structure with me. And that was one of the things he does reverse grip, but he keeps it just like this constant thrusting, elbowed up thing, basically to avoid entanglement. And he's got, I've never heard it really said this way, but like,
Take it easy, Craig. Good seeing you, man.
Later, man.
Good seeing you.
thanks, dude. Have a good day.
All right,
Peace.
you too. Take care.
Interesting. Anyway, later, guys. What was I saying? Oh, sorry. Somebody was either firing off some shots or. Can you hear? Pops?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I didn't hear any shots.
I don't know what they're doing. I don't think they're shots, but whatever.
K-bars
anyway.
help you.
Crafty's his sort of
Chupacabra.
rules of engagement. Well, yeah, Chupacabra, but
That's
like
a
his rules of
transient
engagement, right?
weapons
Like,
craft, no?
what's that?
What's it called? Transient weapons craft, that he calls it?
Transient weapon craft or system or something.
Yeah, something like that.
But rapid transient weapon craft, I think.
Right,
But,
right.
you know, for the biggest thing I took out of that, I took some stuff. But the biggest thing I took out of it was the rules of engagement and how he defines them. Because I think that's something that everyone that carries themselves in a martial way needs to decide what your personal rules of engagement are. And when you look at something like Libre or Piper, the rules of engagement there seem to involve using a knife on an unarmed person sometimes. Or
Especially Piper.
I don't want to say
It's
unarmed.
assassination.
It's just it's an asymmetrical version of the combat, right? You're thinking of an asymmetrical fight. Crafty, and I sort of agree with him that like, there's a lot of nasty implications that can come from just even entering into that mindset. So for him, the rules of engagement would be he breaks it into 3 things. I think of it as like 1 and then 2A, 2B. 1 would be you're in a place and you need to leave. You need to get out. Someone's preventing you from getting out. They're bigger, stronger, and have the means to keep you there physically. And that's part of he does like a blitz with the knife. And I think that, yeah, if you blitz at somebody doing this, I don't give a fuck how big you are. Like, you're going to get out of the way or I'm going to put holes all over you. So that's one sort of thing. And then the other, his 2B would be a multiple opponent situation. And that's about where I personally feel justified in taking out a knife, is if there's more than one person. One guy, I don't know, man. I might try something else. I still might resort to a weapon, but I might not resort to a knife first. But a group of people, yeah, no. You're getting, like, everybody getting stabbed. Everybody. Like, bring your mom. I'll stab her too. I hope my window is wide open too. I hope none of my neighbors are walking by. The guy who just fired those shots is gonna knock on the door and be like, "You got anything to do this afternoon? I got some plans."
You said you'll stab my mom if I bring her over. I don't know.
Yeah, you'll stab my mom? Cool. Strangers on the train
Mom,
kind of
stay
thing. You
home.
got a mom? You need to be rid of her? Anyway, the other option being that it's a multiple opponent situation, and then that's broken into 2 situations. One, the situation that we've all kind of seen now, where you have some sort of a protest breaks out, or there's some sort of mob violence, and you're caught up somehow in it, and you're trying to remove yourself from the situation, and maybe the attention has turned to you, but no one's really after you personally. And in that case, you don't want to get like clobbered in the back of the head. You want to get out of there as fast as possible, but you're not trying to do more damage than necessary to anyone. You just want them out of your way. The third option there, which sort of 2B in the group violence situation, is they are there for you. You have a wolf pack situation of multiple guys who are there for whatever reason, for you specifically, and just running away is going to be hard. And that's probably where your morality is going to factor into things the deepest, because that is a how much damage are you going to put on people's situation. In England, you're not allowed to carry a knife unless you're a Sikh. They have a dispensation where they're allowed to carry, I think the knife is called a kirpan. For religious reasons, they're never supposed to be unarmed. And relatively recently, you can find this pretty easily. There was a group of guys, I think 4 guys, attacked this Sikh guy that was walking home. Like 3 of them had a knife and 1 had a hammer or something, and he killed 3 of the 4 of them. Like pretty decisively. He just drew his knife and he went to work, and he was committed to going home more so than those guys were. They thought they were going to overpower him quickly, and his Sikhs are really interesting, man. The guy that did this to me was a Sikh, and their martial spirit is such that it's gonna be them. It's not a you or them. It's them.
Mhm.
They
Yeah,
don't
those
even
guys are
think
badass,
that
man.
you're gonna beat them.
They use the sharpers, right? They use those like rings, those sharp
Yeah,
rings.
the Xena frisbees.
Yeah.
Yeah, they throw those things. But yeah, so I mean, that's a guy with I don't even know if that blade was sharp, to be honest. I think he was ice pick and it was just pointy. But one guy, people that discount, like, oh, what are you gonna do with that? Well, actually, you can keep yourself safe. And sure, somebody might ambush you with a gun or whatever, and the situation will be what the situation will be. But when it comes to multiple attackers, I'd rather have a knife than nothing, so anyway.
I've been stabbed twice, and one of the times was a multiple attacker situation, which is kind of why I carry 2. I was like 16, and I literally started spinning in circles, like, who wants it? I got you. And I clipped a dude like in the hoodie right by the neck, and my blood went fucking cold. I was 15 or 16. But that's why I'm asking, because I do carry 2 knives, and especially in my line of work, sometimes doing like close quarter protection, people throwing bottles and tables and chairs and bats.
Right.
I did Ace Hood security for Ace Hood last 2 years ago, and he started a bottle war. People were throwing full on like heavy tables and bottles at us, and to get out was like it made me think, like, I just need to kind of and clear a path for everybody behind me to get the fuck out. It was insane. But it sounds unrealistic. Like, who's gonna fight with 2 knives? And even in my head, I think, like, I'm not gonna do that. But I've done it twice in my life where it was like life or death. This is the only thing you can do. But I did not do reverse grip edge in back then. I was just like flailing.
Like I said, the edge in is going to be a very pulling kind of motion. I mean, if you keep it to just sort of pecs, you can do that, but you're going to have this tendency. Whereas I want to cut outwards. You know what I mean? I want to keep people away. And I want them to be afraid of being inside this arc. You're creating arcs of death in front of yourself. And you don't want the guy to get pulled into that. Because now, if you have multiple people and you get that first guy and now he's in here, okay, yeah, you might be doing every Libre trick in the book on him, and his friend comes up and smashes you in the back of the head with a fucking brick. You want the arc of death around yourself. You don't want anyone to want to come grab you. You want them to think that grabbing you is going to get them ripped open. And that'll, in many cases, prevent you from having to rip anyone open. People have a visceral reaction to a blade that they don't necessarily have to a gun. Perfect fucking example, those people we were talking about last night. I don't want to dance on their grave or anything, but those idiots had a gun pointing at them and were calling the guy a pussy. Like, I kind of brought this up last night. There's a difference between you deserve this and you had this coming. Those people had that coming. They stood there, they looked that guy in the face after tormenting him, and they called him a fucking pussy because he had a gun. I bet they wouldn't have done that if he walked up with an axe. We have
Yeah,
this
true.
physical fear. Tomahawks have become very popular among military guys lately, and there's a couple of big reasons why. One of them is that it's fucking cool. They're cool, man. Like, there's a bunch of guys that make really awesome axes. Another reason is they're a great utility tool. You can break shit with them, you can cut shit with them, and you can fight with them if you have to. But another thing that people don't necessarily bring up or know about on an intellectual level that has been brought up by some people is in some of the places we go in the world, they still have a blade culture, and you get more respect having a blade than a gun. There's places where they don't really give a shit about your gun, but if you've got a blade on you, that's going to have a more visceral reaction to people in some of these parts of the world where maybe life is a little cheaper. And something that I've heard guys who are special forces guys say is, when you're in a village in Afghanistan or whatever, they don't really give two shits about your rifle. But a lot of the time, if a tomahawk or a big knife comes out, people pay a little more attention to it. And it's respected a little bit more that you're carrying that as opposed to just relying on this technological tool that you've got. So, the blade in general, for most people, has a reaction of like, whoop. So anyway.
It was interesting that you said you like to, spar with like double ice pick. And it just reminded me when you said that, I think it was the 30th anniversary tribal. Kai was fighting with double karambits, and he was just doing straight up kickboxing with them.
Yeah.
But it was like really effective,
I saw
because he was smashing people really hard. He would have died in the first exchange because he got hit too.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying for like, listen, if it's knife on knife, like, I'm not really I don't think anyone's really going to engage the way that he did, but it was just interesting as a structure,
So watch the third day and watch how I handled him.
Oh, I got to watch.
Don't fucking touch me. I went out here and I tired his big fat ass out and I stabbed him a bunch of times in the face and neck as he came in like a fucking animal. Everybody else
you were fighting like hammer grip double knife against him.
Yeah.
Just to keep him away. Yeah.
Because he did this to everybody, and I watched him for 2 days punch and kick people like it was a kickboxing match. I was like, all right, fuckface, we're not gonna have a kickboxing match.
Which is good if he's going against someone empty-handed, you know what I'm saying, in the street or something. But like if someone else has a knife, you're engaging too much.
Yeah.
Listen, personally, I don't like doing knife at gatherings because. And if I do, it's very clear. This is like a sport knife duel. This is not what a knife fight looks like on the street.
Right.
I'm not going to fucking engage with you. I'm staying the fuck away. Or if you're attacking my family and you have a knife and I have no choice, I'm going to run at you and we're both going to die so my family can get away,
Right.
And just real quick, the other thing with the chupacabra, I know Crafty likes teaching it here.
Yeah.
But I like doing it here. Like I'm impaling like a vampire,
I like that.
Because like if you do against your bob with like a soft knife and really like go like 80-90%, like your wrist's gonna start tweaking. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Fucking
really
impale the vampire.
Back it up there.
Yeah, like right.
You know what? That's actually I like that a lot
About it,
too.
with Akita that has like that ring. He's like, well, it's gonna hurt your hand. So I'm like, I don't know. So cup your fucking hand. And I'm like. Not for nothing. At that point, I don't give a fuck what my hand feels like. This is like life or death if I'm doing this.
I mean, also, I know he loves that knife. I don't love that knife. This stuff works with other knives.
Oh, yeah.
Possibly.
what knife is that?
Crafty has a knife brand called Akita Tactical, and they make
Okay.
Akita and the Shiba, I think, something like that. It's got a big ring. And then it's like a Warncliffe kind of, and then he's got a double-edged one too. But it's not my style, so I don't really you know, I like the idea. I mean, it's tough with a K-bar because it's got that big butt cap, but something like the smaller knife, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's meant for like a 4-inch blade. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right. And you're covering yourself like this to prevent someone from hitting you in the jaw, and you hunch up your shoulders to sort of protect the back of your neck a little bit. And he does this wild shit where he puts it over his head and does like these moves and does like 360s. It's pretty funny to watch, especially because Mark's not a young man. When we did this training, I was like, anybody walking by this park right now is watching this crazy old fuck.
I just got yelled at by my building management for playing with these sticks and knives.
Oh, Jesus.
Where do you live by?
I live in Miami, Florida. I live in a big condo, and somebody got afraid that I'm waving around sticks and a silver knife. So I just looked at the guy like, bro, this is a training knife. I'm a martial artist. Have a nice day.
Just tell him I'm a gay cowboy, man.
I'm a gay cowboy.
Whoopah!
Could have been it.
Whoopah!
Yeehaw.
Oh, next gathering, man. I'm definitely like, we're gonna fight. I'm gonna make like cowboy noises. I'm like, whoopah! Let's go. I'm just gonna make it. My goal is not to hit you during the fight. It's just to make you laugh. Let's see how long you get mad just to kill over laugh.
Just tell him you don't want to grapple with me.
Boston teabag party.
Yep, the whole Boston teabag party.
Oh, man.
What's that?
I got a quick question. This is
Yeah.
kind of an old school New York thing. I don't know if you guys had it in Boston. Box cutters.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How would you think about utilizing that forehand, backhand?
Forehand, like a finger that rips. I got one somewhere around here. It's in my backpack in the other room. I would think of it the same way I would think of something like a fruit knife, where you want it as small as possible, as tight as possible. And I kind of like Steve's thought of having that second hand to back it up, you know. But I mean, a box cutter as concealed as possible and as quick as possible. I mean, you're not gonna like blade length. We're talking something like this. So you literally have like a claw, man. You have like a cat claw.
I'm talking those square box cutters that you would get, like where it's just like a fucking razor blade tucked in the
A
middle.
pop knife.
A pop knife. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I have one. It's just in my backpack right now. So this is all I had to. Oh, I mean,
I'll send you a video on it, Nick. I have one that someone's showing the different applications of the pop knife.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Nick, tell him how
Yeah, you got it, brother.
prepare them in the Bronx in high school.
No, hey, listen, that was a thing growing up. I got a box cutter stuck in my forearm once in a fight.
I got slashed in
Dude,
1997, man. Box cutter.
And I was done with the fight. My friend's like pointing at my arm, freaking out. And I'm like, oh shit. And I pulled it out. And what dudes used to do when I was growing up, they would let the blades rust over in vinegar because it would infect the cut and they couldn't stitch it.
Oh,
So you would get nasty fucking cuts, bro. Like horrible scars that never heal.
that's mean.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. People like
And
want to
we
keep
had
their
the best
knives so
pizza.
clean.
I mean, it's kind of horrifying now that I like actually collect knives to think about that. But like, yo, but that you would have that. Like that was, you left them with something if that happened, you know?
So that just goes to show that, you know, you're not worrying about your average martial artist. You're worrying about some fucking gross bastard on the street with a rusty razor.
Yup.
Oh, yeah.
The guy who's pissed you put snow on his yard.
Street scums, bro. Psycho bums.
Yeah.
Yep.
There was a box cutter slashing in Brooklyn, I think, last week or something.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing growing up in like the late 80s, early 90s. We had a lot of box cutter shit going on.
Mm-hmm.
And they would wrap them up in their bandanas, so you'd think like they just had a bandana in their hand, but the blade was tucked in there.
Right.
You
Well,
know?
they would just like roll up on you in the subway, man. If they were trying to like get down with the gang and they got to give somebody a $1.50, they'll just go right next to you, just grab you, slash you, and just like boogie on out.
Yep.
I know dudes, bro. I know a guy that got almost his whole freaking neck slashed. Like, he's still alive, but he's got a big old scar right here, dude.
Called them $1.50s for the 150 stitches you needed for your face.
Yeah.
Ah,
Or they'd punch you with an X-Acto knife. And it's called serving your lunch right in your mouth.
Oh.
oh, that's a good one.
Ah.
Yeah, the 80s and 90s around here was pretty fucking scary, dude. Can't believe I survived.
Jesus. You gotta stay in New York. We don't want you people outside of that island.
Yeah.
Stay on that island.
Getting caught at TSA with a bag of rusty razors.
Yeah, dude. Woo.
It was almost like a
Gonna-
fad too. All the kids had that shit. All the kids had the orange razor, the orange box cutter. Everybody had that shit.
No shit. Huh.
I had,
Well, Ed's Manifesto just brought it back. Everyone's loving those pop knives now.
yeah,
Oh,
that's what
dude.
they had, pop knife taped to my wrist.
Fucking Classic McQueen is selling pop knives for $25 a piece with a cool sticker on them. It cracks.
With a sticker.
You get the whole set. You get the whole set for $100. Like
The $100
wait a minute.
bucks. Sign me
Or-
up.
For 1,000 pop knives.
Or razor
$100
blades
for 1,000.
$100. But he puts a cool sticker on them. Dude, he sells out. I can't even like. I mean, I like Micah. He's a nice. I've dealt with him a bunch of times. He's a cool guy. But I can't believe people pay 20,
I can't. Remember when the fruit knife thing first started, and then like everybody was modding the fruit knives? You can get the thing for $10. For $10, but you
Offensive Industries sells that for $60.
$60,
Yeah.
Joe, wrapped
This
up
is-
and all that shit.
This is Offensive Industries sheath.
Yeah, you can get all of that on Etsy for 25. The knife and the sheath, and I almost got it from Offensive Industries, but Etsy's got it for 25 with a trainer
So that's
and the hook
yeah,
sheath.
Phil Elmore.
Fuck this community.
Yeah, Phil Elmore, he sells some shit.
So I have both, and I gave the Phil Elmore one to Kaju Dog because this is way better made.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
got a hold of both of them and was like, oh, I know why Josh is charging so much. I'm friends with Josh. Like I
Mhm.
hung out with him for a minute when I was driving across the country and stuff. So he cut me a little bit of a deal, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm not paying you more for a fucking $10 knife that I could buy on Amazon. I bought like 4 of them. It was like, no, just send me the sheath, man.
Yeah, I'm real cool with that guy, man. He sends me like a lot of cool shit, dude. And he does a lot of like custom shit for me, man.
I've had
I'm getting
him
a
make-
holster from him.
He made me the sheath for this. He made me a sheath and wrapped one of my knives.
Mhm.
Got a couple more sheets from him. No, he's a good shit. But yeah, no,
he's
sells,
gotten so much better too.
he sells he's improved a lot. The difference
Hell
in
yeah.
quality between this sheath and when
Mhm.
I've had this one for maybe almost 4 years. The
Mhm.
difference between the two is like fucking.
No,
you can tell it's still his
he's
work.
improved a lot.
But yeah, it's pretty awesome. But
Elmore stuff is good, but if you want like budget type of shit, you know,
oh, it all
like,
works.
he
is
sells
my
good
fighting
shit,
knife.
but it's cheap.
Yeah.
And it's cardboard sheath. I
Yeah.
literally I carry my double-edged knife in a cardboard sheath with tape. I put a scrunchie so it doesn't get out of my pants,
Yeah.
and I'll stab you with this just as bad as that $60 sheath.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hey,
I like
Someone
that.
just showed me how to make it with PVC pipe.
these are on sale at Amazon. A box of 12 for $10.
Mhm.
Grab some stickers. You can sell them for 25.
So, dude, I'm surprised nobody has taken a regular 25-cent razor blade, fucking spray painted it some kind of random color with a little fucking design, and sold those for like fucking $10, $15 each.
Well, you
Just a regular
see the ones that
fucking
people
razor.
are making now, they are shaving off a hook shape, so it's like a fruit knife razor blade. They're
Oh, I
just
see,
selling
yeah, I see.
razors that they grind it into a hook, which is cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Remember,
you
like
don't
a year
they
ago,
sell
a
them
few
like
years ago,
that.
it
You don't
was,
even have to
um,
grind them. They're actually they sell
Yeah, they make
razor
those.
blades like that for
Yeah.
cutting and ripping. It's like that already.
Yeah, like
Go to
crazy.
Home
These are
Depot
so
and you can
funny.
buy
We can
Remember, like
we
a
just really
year
wanna
ago, it
stab
was like
something.
Everybody had a screwdriver. Everybody was like, "I got this cool screwdriver." Remember that? And they were like making the little tubes for the.
Oh
for
yeah.
and
Yeah.
everyone was carrying a fucking screwdriver. I'm like, all of a sudden, everybody's fucking Puerto Rican from the '80s. You know what I'm saying? We always did that. Shit.
Dude, my
Everybody had a fucking screwdriver in their pocket.
father was a CO at Rikers, and he actually has a collection of the shanks that he confiscated over the years.
Mhm.
And the funny
Oh,
story,
those are
is, like,
expensive, dude.
he'd much rather keep them than write the guy up and have to remand them because they're like works of art. And the best one he had,
Hell yeah.
it was called the fruit scooper, and it was a spoon, and they shaved it down to like a pointy razor edge, and the handle was an ice pick, so they'd come at you like that.
That's actually
Nice.
a fucking dope ass idea, dude.
Face off and then just stab him in the eye. Yeah, and
Yeah, we should come up with that, man. Tactical spoons.
You were able to really get your thumb pressed into there,
I love it.
able to dig that in there. It was a frightening piece of art. To which I was like, when you die, I want that.
Yo, you get that. Yo, people are sell those collections, man. They go for top dollar.
The most frightening part about that is all those things have been inside someone's butt.
Ah,
Yeah.
it's been 40 years, so I'll take it.
Since it was in the old prison wallet.
Yeah. Take a sniff. This is authentic.
Oh,
Have a
no.
sniff. Smells like shit.
Oh man, better start talking about grape jelly now.
Oh, Christ. Well,
Oh
I
man.
think I need to have some breakfast and get on with my day today. But
Yeah, man. Yo, Nick, what's up? We good or what's going on? We're
Yeah,
gonna jump right into it.
Yeah,
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
I'm gonna be doing another class tonight. I'm probably gonna cover this material again.
You do realize the Super Bowl's on when you're doing your Zoom, right?
I've got like fucking 4 people that want to do it, so I don't care.
I might jump in if I can.
Yeah, I couldn't care less about football. I'm here for
All I
6.
watch is my son.
This is the first time Tom Brady's been in a Super Bowl where I've gone, I don't give a fuck. Who cares? Who cares? I want Tom Brady to lose so Giselle will get to do an interview where she shits on the rest of his team again. Because that was the best part. Anytime the Patriots would lose a Super Bowl, you had one thing to look forward to. For some
Yo, Chris, what's up, man?
the media would interview Giselle. I don't know why. She doesn't have anything to do with football, but she would straight up. The last one, they lost, and somebody goes, Giselle, what do you think happened? And she goes, my husband cannot throw the ball and catch it too.
Mm.
It's just like, ooh, shit.
Wow.
He's like, all he can do is hit them in the hands. I'm like, she's got a point. Like, he's throwing the ball, they're fucking dropping it. But oh yeah, she's savage. So I hope they lose so that we get a little bit of Giselle.
The Brazilian Viking.
Brazilian German. We're assuming her grandfather, about midway through the 40s, went on vacation to South America, and there's
Mhm.
because his
Argentina,
lost
maybe?
that big thing in the middle of the 40s. So I think he just was like, oh, let's go to Brazil.
Mhm.
Her name's Giselle Bundchen.
Mhm.
It's not the most Brazilian sounding name I've ever heard. She
Yeah.
speaks with a pretty fucking German accent still. So
I got a whole book about that.
yeah.
We
Argentina.
made a whole show about that,
Giselle,
starring Tim Kennedy.
blonde-haired, blue.
Yeah, hunting Hitler, right?
Yeah.
Boys from Brazil.
Yep.
All right.
So,
Fellas,
Well,
I do gotta bounce. I gotta set up for my next class. Matt, thank you
Yo,
so much, brother.
I'll see you in a little bit, Nick.
fuck yeah. Thank you guys for coming today.
Yeah,
Thank you, everybody.
Man,
Appreciate it, man.
thank
Do it
you.
again next week.
All right,
Yes,
brother.
sir.
Take care.
Later,
All right,
guys.
take it easy, fellas.
Have
Nick,
a
see
good
you
weekend,
soon.
guys.